Mount Sinai Hospital and the Icahn School of Medicine was really unique in the sense that the School of Medicine was built from a non-university in collaboration with a hospital. So unlike other university-affiliated medical schools where research was derived from the bench to the bedside, we often would identify from the bedside and take to the bench. When the medical school opened in 1968, much of the research in infectious disease was from clinical observations of patients with endocarditis. And if you go fast forward a little bit, we can see the changes with COVID. Clinical observations now of this brand new pandemic led to developing among the first emergency use authorizations for COVID antibody testing.
Mount Sinai's Division of Infectious Diseases stays committed to the latest developments in research and clinical care by taking an active role in new clinical studies, holding positions in key guideline committees, and maintaining strong networks of communication with colleagues within the Mount Sinai network and abroad. When I found out that researchers at Mount Sinai had developed a new COVID-19 vaccine, I jumped at the opportunity to help conduct a clinical trial. This new COVID-19 vaccine, called NDV-HXPS, uses Newcastle disease virus, or NDV, as a viral vector to express the spike protein of SARS-CoV-2. Two features make NDV-HXPS special. The first is that the vaccine can be grown in eggs. This allows NDV-HXPS to quickly and easily repurpose pre-existing influenza vaccine manufacturing facilities to make and widely distribute vaccines to a fraction of the cost of current COVID-19 vaccines. The second unique feature of NDV-HXPS is that it can be delivered intranasally as a needle-free squirt into the nose. Not only is this route of administration pain-free, the initial data from our phase 1 study has shown over a 30-fold increase in secretory IgA in the saliva and over a 20-fold increase in 50% neutralization titers in the serum.
Here in New York City, we've been at the epicenter of HIV since the beginning of the epidemic, and also fortunate enough to be at the epicenter of a lot of the research in terms of treatment, prevention, and even cure studies. Mount Sinai was part of the original clinical research sites for the NIH-funded HOPE Act, which aimed to see if people with HIV could actually be recipients of HIV-infected organs.
Mount Sinai has been a national leader in HIV-to-HIV transplantation since the passing of the HOPE Act. We have done 136 transplants since the HOPE Act was passed, 28 livers and 108 kidneys.
HIV itself is associated with immune activation, inflammation that affects multiple organs throughout the body. In particular, what we see is persons with HIV are more susceptible to developing cardiovascular disease. REPRIEVE is a randomized placebo-controlled trial with pitavastatin to see if it reduces major adverse cardiovascular events in persons with HIV who do not have a clinical indication to be on a statin. And in fact, what the study showed was there was a 35% reduction in major adverse cardiovascular events among persons with HIV.
The Division of Infectious Disease here at Mount Sinai is really committed to clinical excellence. That involves working with clinical efforts, research efforts, and education efforts, and combining all of those three to contribute to excellent patient outcomes.
During COVID, we saw marked health disparities among the different boroughs in New York City. In Brooklyn and Queens, there was much more morbidity and mortality compared to what we saw in Manhattan. And this has led us to initiatives opening clinical trials system-wide so that all individuals have access to clinical trials rather than expecting people who live in the outer boroughs to come into the city.
Education is key. And what that looks like for us at Mount Sinai is actually meeting the people where they are. We're in schools, we're in churches, we're in community-based organizations, we're handing out information, and we're actually taking the time to talk to people and address their concerns. We have found that when you educate the people, not only will they come to the hospital, they will participate in clinical trials, we want to hear from the participant. We want to hear from the people who are in need. So we don't brush people off when they say that there's something going on with them. We want to hear from you, because the only way that we are able to assess what is best for you and best for your health is if you tell us what's going on. So while we're out there educating, we're also listening.
We've just opened the new Harlem Health Center, where we're very excited that we're going to the community instead of expecting the community to come to us. We are a leader in virology and immunology, and with the new cancer hospital being built in 2 years, we expect that we will be a leader in the treatment of cancer-associated infections and transplant infectious diseases.